Hey guys, good morning. Happy Monday to you. Thanks for joining us over here on the live stream. Whether you're watching on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, I want to welcome you this morning. And we're continuing our study on this particular drawing. And so I'm, this has been a very slow process because we're only working on it one day a week for about an hour. So if this is our 12th installment, 12th or 13th, I can't remember what I just changed that title to whenever I did that 20 minutes or so ago. I think it's 13 maybe. Anyway, so this is what quarantine does to you. I'm going to blame the virus on this one. You have limited memory, although I think that was happening to me even before the virus was around. But anyway, what happens though with something like this is, there's some things that you learn about what's going on with regard to, readdressing issues that you're encountering one day a week, and then you wait, 7 days before you come back to it. Sometimes you can forget, like, where you were in a passage and forget what you were doing over there, so it can be a bit of a challenge. So it's not really a method that I would recommend to anyone long term, but I'm not doing it for, a process kind of thing. I'm doing it more for, showing the entire process. So, hey, Harry, thanks for joining. Shiny, thanks for joining. Good to see you guys out here. All right, so we started on the hair last time, though, if I recall. I did talk about how I wanted to mute down the highlight eventually, probably a little bit. And the reason for that is so that I can overcome the issues of having a highlight in the hair. So hopefully you can see this, but if I'm concentrating on, I've got a wrinkle in there, apologize for that, but if I'm concentrating on getting some highlights in this hair and showing some shine in some of those hairs, then I don't want a competing highlight over here in the forehead. So yeah, much different from photography. Photography is good to learn from. We can, get some tips on what we're doing with photography, but when it comes to drawing, it's an entirely different process. And so we have to know what our tools are. And the biggest thing that we have to our advantage with art is that when we're wanting something to, a lot of people like to use the word pop, we're wanting something to come forward, we're wanting it to be a lighter value than everything else, then you have to mute down that contrast with everything else. And so the biggest contrast, if you want this particular area to be bright, then I've got to darken the values of everything around it. And sometimes the trick is just darkening the values slightly only in that area, just a little bit, so that there's a little bit of contrast. But then other times we'll have to darken, large areas of the drawing. So I don't know yet. We'll see here in a little bit what we'll have to do with this particular area. All right. So I'm going to move over this direction, move over here, and start looking at the hair right in here in this area. because I think I'm okay with the way the hair's looking right now over on the left side, or the right side, her left side. And then I'm going to just work my way around. I don't want to work too long over here and then forget what I was doing, or forget, some of the techniques I was using over in this area. And that's the risk that you run whenever you just stay focused in one area for too long. So I want to make sure that I move over and keep working around the whole area of the hair. So, trying to remember what my dark pencil was. All right. So one area, though, that I do need to establish up here is the scalp. There is a scalp showing through just a little bit, and we want to make sure that that's being seen. And if I start to do that, I'm thinking more about this now. If I start putting that scalp in, then I think what will happen is I am going to have to readdress this highlight then as well, because this is part of the angle of that head, top area of that plane of the head that is coming up here to this turn in the head where we have the frontal view, but this is one whole plane up here. There's a turn in direction right in here, and so the pinnacle is right in here somewhere where that highlight is hitting, so it comes up into the hairline. And so I do need to probably address this right now and figure out if I want to mute that down a little bit, and I do. So let's take a look here. Needs to be something that is gradual, and I think I'm just going to match a value here just a little bit. So I'm using the brown ochre 10%. Just to match that value, and that looks about right. Okay, and then what I think I probably want to do is go ahead and use a darker toned pencil up in here. So we're just going to sort of glaze this on. Very lightly. Then we'll use another pencil to blend that after we put that on here. Now, sometimes when I do something like this, someone will ask, "Oh, did you make a mistake?" And so I guess it depends on your perspective, because you could say drawing is a mistake. The entire process of drawing is just one colossal mistake all the time, because with the way that I draw, and I think this is, I don't think I'm an exception. I think most artists do this. A lot of artists do, unless they're just extremely formulaic. You're constantly going back and forth through a series of putting something down and going in one direction and then leaning back in a different direction, whether that's value or color or form or anything. So that's that's just part of the process, And I know that makes a lot of artists, particularly I think portrait artists, makes them uncomfortable sometimes. So, but I think if you embrace it and if you start realizing, you're a problem solver. That's what you are. That's what you do. Then I think it becomes something that it's fun and is very, to me, it's very challenging and fun. So, let's see. Shiny said that pinkus. That pink probably is doing great job. Scalp definitely needed to be added. She was looking ghostly with yellow skin under her hair. Definitely deaf, but hey, dangerous. You'll lose some of your highlight better than yellow skin, though. Okay, thanks, Shiny. Let's see. It's fun being near the end at the polishing stage, but oh, so nerve-wracking. There you go. Yep. So apparently you've been there, Shiny. You know what that's like. Yeah. I mean, it's fun, but I think one of the biggest challenges is artists, especially if you're just starting out in drawing or in art in general, when you get to the finish line, then your tendency is just to quit before you reach the flag, quit before you cross the line, and just say, okay, I'm done. I'm getting tired of this. I'm just gonna say this is done. I'm ready to move on. I've lost patience. Ready to move on to the next one. And that would be a real tragedy most of the time. Not that I've not done that. I have done that, and probably if everyone's very honest with themselves, they have. They have to admit that they've done that. Let me sharpen this. There we go. Unlike caricatures, you've you've got a timeline, right, Shiny? You're if you're doing cartoons or an exaggerated version then of a person, you've got a timeline usually, or there's a risk of going past line drawings and overdoing something, and with this type of art, it's different. The more you work on something, the more you can improve it. So, and all the layers mean something, If you're putting something down just haphazardly, or you don't have enough maybe experience, I don't know, to know why you put something down, then I could see where that could create a problem. But otherwise, I mean, usually I'm putting something down as a layer because I need that tone, I need that color, I need whatever it is. And it's not that it's gone, it didn't disappear, it's still working for us underneath all these other layers that we build on top. Just like the purple, most of the purple that I put in the face, for the most part, when you're looking at the face, you don't, and the eyes, the corners of the mouth, you don't see it now. It's still there. It doesn't mean it's gone. It's still there. It was needed for what we were doing. Wow, that is just not showing up on my camera, or at least on my my monitor that I'm seeing. But that's the way it goes, I guess. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and maybe you guys are able to see it just fine. Yeah, very cool, Shiny. Yeah, if you're going to try your hand at doing some realistic faces, then yeah, I would highly recommend the LuxArchival paper. Yeah, and awesome. I'm excited that you're going to attempt it, because or start doing it. Let's put it that way, because you can do it. No, I wouldn't say that, Shiny. That on a watercolor paper, especially hot press, which is a smoother surface, that you couldn't get smoothness out of using that paper, or smooth, detail and skin. You can. You vary your technique, depending on whatever support you're on, because the end product is what matters. The end result is what matters. So if I'm working on a smooth paper, I have to just know the limitations of that paper, that I'm not going to be able to get as many layers on a smooth surface paper, especially a cotton paper, and one that is, perhaps thinner than what we're working on here. So you're quickly going to run out of tooth, so you don't have as many opportunities to get it right. If you recall, if you remember back, or if you saw the early work on this, I was very haphazard, and I didn't care about a lot of different things, because I knew I had a lot of time on the surface. So it didn't matter to me. What mattered more in the beginning of this drawing process was accuracy and establishing values here and there, getting some of that stuff right. So yeah, when I'm on cotton paper, and in particular using a smooth textured surface, I don't have as many opportunities to problem solve and make corrections. I have to get some of those things very accurate early on in the drawing process. Now, I know some of this is like watching paint dry, but I think there's also some value in allowing people to see it and to understand. Thanks, Shiny. So, talking about going crazy with the ink tints pencil there. Yeah, I was using bark color ink tints. So she's referring to the video that I just released on YouTube. When was that? Saturday, I think. Friday or Saturday. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. You can put that ink tints color down, the ink tints line of pencil on your project, and then you can use it dry, or you can, add water to it. I added water to it, and just quickly got a lot of coverage everywhere. It was a lot of fun. A little bit of uncharted territory for me. I don't do that very often, where I'm adding water to ink tints, because you don't have to. They have a very creamy, rich texture, that pencil does. And so if you're using ink tints by themselves dry, they create a very nice surface to go over on top of with wax and oil-based pencils. They work really well together. Okay. Some of that we'll have to smooth out later. We don't want lumpy skin by the time we're done. So I just have to move along for now, because I'm not looking for smoothness at the moment. But I have to remember to come back to that, readdress that. And the other thing is, if you've been following along with this drawing demonstration, then you know I've been threatening to go ahead and finish it off camera, off the live streams on my own, and then uploading the finished version later, showing you the sped up process later on. There's just been too many other things that take my that are my priority at different times in the week. No, there's only one grade of grit for the LuxArchival paper shiny, and that is it's a 400 grit texture on it. Much like the Fisher 400 paper, that's also a 400 grit level of texture on that sanded paper. Same thing with this is it only comes in one grit level. Makes it easy, I guess, in a lot of ways, because you don't have to wonder and worry about which grit level should I get, Sometimes I don't know if you guys are like this with different tasks that you do, but once in a while I will start a project like the podcast. And if you've not listened to this week's podcast, I'm so excited about it. We interviewed Harry Silvers. Is asking about the graininess on the screen. Yeah, it'll smooth out because I'm going to intentionally look at that particular area, But anyway, I interviewed Tracy Frine. So if you guys haven't listened to that interview yet, I think you'll really enjoy it. He's very unique in what he creates and the way that he creates as well. The process involved. So anyway, my point though about talking about that is, it was, you're welcome, Harry. It was one of those things where sometimes it takes a long time, to do all the editing on the podcast, and that was the case with this one. Sometimes it doesn't take but a few hours, and that's just the editing process. But then other times it can take 10 hours or more, and so by the time I'm done with everything involved with the podcast, I've spent 20 to 30 hours on one episode, and sometimes I forget about that. Hey, Oksana, how are you today? Thanks for joining us over here on YouTube Live. Yeah, take a listen. Would love to know what you think. So, Harry, to answer your question more completely, though, when I come back and address some of the roughness, then what I'm going to be doing mostly is using some middle value pencils and building up some more layers on top. Because we still have a rough textured surface in some of those areas. And this is a reason why you'll often get some unevenness. And so if you're like me, then you don't like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, I guess, having a rough textured surface. I mean, there's a lot of watercolor artists that will work on, cold press or rough press watercolor paper and just leave that texture. That's, I guess a decision that can be made. But for skin on a smooth skin for a child, then I prefer to have it look a little more, smooth by the time we're done. So. Yeah, I know what that's like, Oksana. I remember some kind of quote that I don't remember who said it, but I'm sure everybody's heard it. It was something like, things always take 3 or 4 times as long as you think they will. And then And the things that you think will take no time usually take more time than I can't remember the quote. I think it had some kind of alliteration, but the takeaway for me was, maybe I should look that up before I try to spout it off, but the takeaway for me was that things take longer than you think. And I'm always finding that. I mean, I know that is a true axiom, right? That's going to happen every time. But sometimes I forget it, I guess, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll get that done real quick, and then I end up staying up till 1 a.m. I hate that. I usually like to try to get in bed at a reasonable hour. Okay, now I think what I will do is I'm going to leave that for the moment. And then I'll work on the hair up here. And let's see. I'll work on the hair. And we can readdress some of the skin value a little later. Believe it or not, that is a little darker than what it was when we started out. Okay. So I think I will use, I've got this soft tool here, and this side is blue, obviously. I've used it. This side, I don't think I've used. It doesn't look like it. So I can turn this over and use this side. There we go. If I don't tear it up, sometimes that happens when I'm placing the sponge on there. So I can just kind of brush this a little bit. There's some looseness going on with this anyway. So if you've used sanded paper, you know what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of dust usually involved. Add a little bit up in here. Okay, there we go. So some of this hair I was noticing I'm going to cut off because I'm changing the shape of the head if I don't watch it. There we go. So Harry asking about drawing in graphite there with a 2H and H on Bristol Smooth. And struggling to get, struggling to get a smooth finish. Sometimes that's really difficult because your paper, a smooth paper, is going to show every little thing. So and for me, the process is not a lot different than working in colored pencil. With graphite, you can layer, and so you layer pencil layer upon pencil layer. And what that does is it gives you an opportunity to place softer pencils sometimes, or even brush, I call it brush, some of those undercoat layers of graphite with subsequent layers of graphite. And so you're adding graphite on top of graphite, and that can sometimes create a nice new smoother surface. But the biggest thing is test it over on a test sheet of paper and see if you can replicate what you're doing there. I'm going to sharpen a few of these pencils here. Some of this hair up here on top will change in color a little bit, only because this is more in view of the sun. The sun is coming straight down on top of the hair here. So I'm allowed to use a little bit lighter colors up here. But I noticed temperature-wise that I'm seeing more red up there, and then lighter highlights in between some of the hair. But I'm thinking about, the direction of the hair up here as well. So really right now I'm working on shadows in between the hair, and shadows in between, the highlights, the lighter areas of the hair. Still got to get that bow in there. Okay. Might go ahead and use the buff titanium and ivory as well. Some of this. See, I need a little more pigment right in there first to represent the scalp and the forehead. Right in here. Now, this is actually really difficult for me to see from my angle. I don't want to put my bald head in the frame, though, for you guys. It's actually hard to see. What's the voice in the background? John, what's the voice in the back? Shiny's asking, John, what is the voice in the background? I noticed it last podcast too. Does your Lost in Space High Tech get up, read your questions to you? What? I'm not sure what you're asking. Oh, are you talking about on this live stream? You talking about the dictation? Maybe that's what you're talking about. Because, yeah, there's a text-to-voice service that I'm using. That way I'm not glancing over here and reading every single question every time. I still am a little bit, but I don't have to do it quite as often. If that's what you're meaning, you can let me know. Okay, yeah. That's exactly it. So I use a text-to-service, or text-to-speech service, rather, to be able to listen to the questions, which is actually a feature within Restream, which is the service that I use to do these, to stream multi-channel, to Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I could stream it other places, but I'm just not that interested in streaming it to other places. I think those are probably the big three. Okay. Yeah, it really helps with I don't know if you can hear your voice right now, Shiny, but I hear it whenever you type something, and so it's very helpful to me to be able to hear that. And I've watched live streams where the host is drawing and reading and talking and typing and drawing, and they're not doing a lot of drawing. They're they're mostly talking and replying to messages and that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with it, but that's just not what I wanted to do here. I wanted to be able to draw. So Oksana is asking if she could invest in a budget-friendly microphone for doing her own videos. What would I recommend? Ooh, you're getting on a topic I love to talk about. So here's what I would recommend at the beginning if you're talking about budget-friendly. It's one I used for years, and it's still rated really high. You can look at the reviews online, but it's the Ars Technica 2700, I believe. Ars Technica. I think it's the 2700, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a long time since I've used it. But check it out. Maybe do a Google search while we're here, if you have time, and look and see if that one is the one I'm talking about. And the way you'll know is it's a dynamic microphone. This one is a diaphragm microphone. The one I'm talking about is dynamic, and it so that'll be in the description, probably should be, and it's around $65 last time I looked on Amazon. So it's very inexpensive to get started, and it sounds incredible. It has a USB, micro USB port on it, or you can use an XLR cable. So if you want a greater sound, you'll use the XLR cable. Ars Technica, I believe. Let me just look real quick. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to just look because I can't remember. Yeah, Ars Technica, I believe, and it is. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Ars Technica. I don't know where I got that name. It's been a long time since I've used this one. It's the Audio Technica, and ATR. I think it's a 2100. Hold on. Yeah, that's it. It's the Audio Technica ATR 2100, and it's gone up a little bit from, I purchased it 6 years ago probably, but I'll put a link here. I'm doing exactly what I said other hosts do. Sorry, let me grab it here. Okay. There's the link. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. All right. So let's get back here. Anyway, that is such a great microphone. Yeah, absolutely. If you ever have any other questions about any of those tech-related things, just let me know. I love geeking out over that stuff. It's a lot of fun, and it's been a while since I've been able to help someone with things like that. It wasn't that long ago. I was helping a cousin of mine. He is starting a side business, and it's just a lot of fun. It's exciting to see what other people are, what they're doing. He's doing it because of the quarantine, so just had a conversation with him is what I did, and over Zoom, I think it was, and just talked about different options and things that you can do right now. That's going to be too light. Let me do this. So it's just fun. Okay. Yeah, some of this is we're just gonna have to take our time. And it's a painstaking process for adding some of these values in here, and can't get in a hurry on it. You could, wouldn't do any good. It would actually hurt the result. Okay. Here. those shadows, and I think this color will work just fine for some of that. Have to have something that that shadow represents over here, and that might need to be a little bit darker and lighter as well. So just a quick reminder that tonight at 5 p.m. We will be continuing our shelter-in-place color pencil drawing stream. If you're able to join us, that would be awesome. We're going to start a new project, and we're going to draw a mouth in colored pencil. And so these are quick studies, and we draw a mouth with teeth. So I can't wait for that. Hello, Shiny. Do you reckon a Logitech webcam and that microphone would be enough stuff to get a live stream going? Yes. I mean, yeah, you could do that. If you're talking about, see, I mean, I think at a minimum, though, hello, Shiny, I think that at a minimum you would want maybe 2 cameras, maybe just one. I mean, you could use just one, right? Yeah, just one on your work, right? But if you wanted to talk and show, you know, your face while you're speaking, then you would want, you know, a camera on you like I've got right here, and I'm using the Brio Logitech camera webcam. I've got another Logitech over here on my pencils. But then I'm also using CamLink to convert the signal from my my AX33 Sony camera, which is on my project. Well, if you got, so here's the thing, Shiny, if you got a CamLink, what that will do is it will convert your signal, okay, to an H.264. You know, it'll do the codec, encode, decode on the signal in order to translate that into something that is web appropriate. So a web cam, like the Brio Logitech, any Logitech camera, any webcam is doing a automatic codec, you know, encode decode while it's sending the signal, right? But if you're using just a camcorder or a camera like a DSLR, a still camera or something, or Micro Four Thirds or whatever, or point and shoot, if it has a USB out, which most of them do, or an HDMI. Well, HDMI I think is what CamLink uses. Then what you can do is you can connect the CamLink device, and it transcodes the signal. It's just a little device. It's got a microchip in it, you know, and it does a transcoding on the signal, and it converts it from that raw file type to the appropriate codec to be used on the web. Does that make sense? I hope I didn't just confuse the situation, but I don't know I don't know a better way really to describe it other than look at the CamLink software and device. That's what I would do, is I would look at that. So I'm using, if we want to know the whole ball of wax, I guess I'll just tell you, I'm using OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, to formulate the presentation, right? And then I'm using CamLink to convert the signal from my camera, and then I'm using the webcams to also be part of the presentation, right? So yeah, you're welcome. I hope that helps. Yeah, cam link. So I could stream in 4K. I'm not doing that for a variety of reasons. Most people are not viewing everything in 4K right now anyway. The other thing is it takes up a lot of bandwidth, and so, but Cam Link will do that. It will stream in 4K. So will my streaming software, but I just chose not to do that. I just think it's just going to chew up too much bandwidth, and the signal, the quality may actually struggle, oddly enough, even though you're using a higher quality display output. So anyway, we just lost probably half the audience. They're like, I thought this was about colored pencil, so apologize for that if this isn't something you're interested in. For Facebook, what camera would you be good to get at cheapest price for filming the artwork? Shiny, so for a long time and in many of my courses, I used a DSLR. I used the video capability on a DSLR. So you can look that up and find a good price on a DSLR. But then I switched over. I bought two Sony AX33 camcorders because they can shoot in 4K. You can, there's a lot of you can use a remote on it. There's so many capabilities that these cameras have over what I was using before. And so anyway, I don't know I don't think there's a right answer on that. So I would look for, I wouldn't look for the cheapest, but I would look for one that I guess at a minimum would allow me to shoot in 720p, right? Preferable would be 4K, but don't use the 4K. Use 1080p. And I would try to find a camcorder to be able to do that. Only because what I had to do is I had to go in there and break the software on my DSLRs in order to film past 30 minutes, because it would shut off after 30 minutes. And so I had to go in there and break. Essentially, that's what I did. I broke the native software that came with the camera in order to go past the. It's like a jailbreak kind of thing. In order to go past that 30-minute mark. So, but anyway, if you have any specific questions, you can probably just email me and. I'll try to get back to you on specific questions about that. Otherwise, I know it's fascinating, it's interesting to me, and I love talking about it. But I'm thinking probably most people watching are very uninterested in any of that. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to use this Payne's Gray here just a little bit for some extreme contrast here and there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Sony camera I just mentioned is the AX33. I don't know if it's, they probably replaced it. AX33. They may have replaced that camera, though. It's probably a little older now, I'm guessing, since it's been a while since I purchased those two cameras. But that's what I use, my overhead camera and my camera that's over my shoulder. That's what I use for that. Those different angles. The nice thing also, though, about just investing in a good camera is you're going to be able to take more of your own reference shots and better reference shots. You're going to be happier with the results of your reference shots. So it's not like you're buying something that's frivolous. It's going to help you with your artwork. Even you may decide that you want to go ahead and use a camera and create stills of your final drawing as well, and that will help also. Oh yeah. That's a cool thing about a good thing about getting a just a DSLR is you can use it for a lot of different things. Oh, you're welcome, Oksana. Good. I'm glad it helped. I hope it did. If you're like me, I mean, you start doing things and there are things that you don't know, and you just learn as you go. And then things change, technology changes, and different things, that worked in the past don't always work in the future, and you've got to keep learning as well and stay current with whatever is going on at the time or what you're trying to do at the time. So I've adopted this system because when and if you guys are, if you're serious about wanting to start, broadcasting live and creating videos and doing different things, I've just started using just-in-time learning. I just started adopting that whole philosophy. It's the same thing you use when you're a programmer. You have to do that. You cannot know everything about everything, and so the same thing with business. With certain things in business, you have to learn how to adapt and learn things as you need them, and you just add to your knowledge every time you find something out. And if you need to figure something out, then you figure it out at that time, and just go with it. So yeah, I started out asking the same kind of questions and researching online, trying to figure it out. But that's cool. That's exciting. I hope both of you guys and anyone else that is interested in that, I hope you guys start doing some live streams and creating videos, and let me know if you do. And I would love to subscribe to your channels and support what you're doing. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, you have to, Shiny. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, gone are the days where you have to figure everything out at the beginning. If you did that, you would never do anything. When you are a business owner, there are 1,001 things to do and to know. And if you waited till you had complete knowledge of all those things, you would never do anything. You'd never get anything done either. Yeah, you can do it though, Oksana. You can do it. That's exciting. That's really cool. For me, when I started wanting to share more, it was just the whole idea of I enjoyed this hobby that I had of drawing in colored pencil, and I wanted to keep doing it, and I wanted to go to the next level of enjoyment. And for me, it was sharing, and I started just sharing with friends that were in colored pencil, what they wanted to do certain things, and so we would bounce ideas off each other. They would ask questions, I would ask questions, and one of those friends was here local, and we would just talk about different ideas, and not just related to art, but then how to share art, how to sell art, how to do commissions, and all the stuff. You know what I mean? And just one thing led to another, and then you just learn as you go, and it's just I just think it's a lot of fun, and it adds to your enjoyment of your hobby, and it makes it so much more rewarding when, after you figure something out, you share it. Oksana saying, I guess for YouTube channel, I'd be struggling with the name for it. I'm so indecisive. I think, and I may be wrong about this, Oksana, but I think you can change it one time. I may be wrong, but you might want to look that up. But I thought that was the case, that you could change it one time. Okay, I got to put that bow in here somewhere. It's probably going to go right over here somewhere. I got to figure that out, though. I think it'll be right in there. I'm not sure. There's a lot of little things at the beginning, when you start your YouTube channel, that if you've done it for a little while, I think you forget, because it's been a long time since you've done it. But there's a lot of little things that you're doing at the beginning that you never repeat. You just do it that one time, and then you're done. There's a dark area right back here. Again, I'm gonna have to get my reference out and print myself a wider version, increase the canvas size of the reference, because I need to see over here past the ears. These ears are starting to bother me too. I got to get those rendered. And that shirt. Let's see. And I have to ask myself if I want that shirt to be white. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I think maybe a soft purple might be good. It will complement the glasses when we finally put those in. That might be a good way to go. Or the white can show a lot of purple in it anyway. And that might be a good thing to do, is just at least render maybe some of the white in here. And then we can put some other colors with it. I love white items, that is, to draw, because you're able to push things in. You can use any color when you're using white. So I used that part of the sponge. It's another little trick I do once in a while. I can use this part of the sponge down here that I've not really used, just by angling it just a little bit. and pushing that part. Oh, you're very welcome, Oksana. Now, I've been threatening to do, I don't know if you're part of the monthly sharpener, but there's been several people who've asked me to disseminate some business advice inside there, especially tech advice regarding certain things. So I'm still threatening to do that. But anyway, if that's something you're interested in. Okay, now this is my buff titanium, which is not a lot of there's not a lot of difference between that and the color of this support we're using. So another buff titanium. Looking for my white, not readily accessible here. That's all right. My what is this? This is cold gray, I think, or warm gray. If I can read that. I think it's cold gray. Yeah, cold gray. Cold gray 2. Put this on as a base coat layer here as well. Yeah, we've got a lot of great artists over there, Oksana. Great, awesome. Okay, put that in there. Reserve that. I'm not sure when I used this brush last. So Shiny, you drew Oksana as well, huh? That's hilarious. I'll have to check that out. If you send it to me over Facebook, okay, I'll have to try to remember to look for that. Please don't get offended if I don't see it right away. Sometimes I forget to go look at messages on people send me on Facebook. Sometimes I don't even see them. And then I get a nasty gram through the email saying, why did you never respond to my message? And like, I didn't see it. I sent it on Facebook 2 years ago. Let's see here. Let me put some white over here just to establish this edge. I know that's probably hard to see, but a little bit of that suggestion of where that shirt is over here. There we go. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Shiny. It still may be a while before I see it. I don't know. I'll try to look at it, but that's cool. I love that work you do in those cartoon images. That's so cool. I'm just very impressed when I see that kind of work. I could not do things like that. That is impressive. I love it. That whole style of working like that, those cartoons in that way. Okay, let's see here. I started over here a little bit, but then I need to find that dark edge, and that's a little bit too dark over here, or too bright rather. Mute that down just a little bit. Need a darker color as well to fade into that hair right there. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, Oksana. Yeah, just don't be afraid to fail at something. And don't be afraid of, it's easier said than done, but don't be afraid of criticism and what other people think and say. Let's see. I wonder if this is going to work right in there. I think it might. Yeah. That looks good. All right, guys. I think what I'll do, yeah, I need to evaluate some of this stuff. Getting to that point where I need to start pushing this along a little bit more, and in some areas I need to match some of those color tones right in there as well. So I think what we'll do is go ahead and stop here today, and but yeah, I love that motivation, Oksana. Yeah. She's saying if her motivations, if she can help one person, it's a huge achievement in her eyes. It's exactly right, and I always have to reconnect with that and remember that's my motivation. It's my motivation for starting the podcast and for doing anything. The monetary stuff will follow. I really believe that, and it's proven out to be the case. When you're helping other people, then you will get paid for it. That the money will follow if you're helping people. So if it's something you want to make money at. Hey, Harry, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And thanks for coming over here. And we'll work on this. We'll get there. It's slow going at the moment. And again, maybe I'll threaten to do this off camera and then upload some of the work that was done on it later on. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, stay sharp. Bye-bye.